All right, everybody. My next guest is apparently the biggest Jet fan in the world. He is
Absolutely.
good start. Good start. He graduated from Quinnipiac University. He is pursuing a career in the media, and he's one interesting fella for what I'm hearing. So let's learn all about this guy. He hosts the Settle the Score podcast, which can be found on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify. I have Hayden Nadler joining me tonight. What's going on, Hayden? Nice to meet you.
Not much. I'm just excited to be on the show. Really excited to give my content and a little bit more. You utilize my platform as well. I'm really excited to looking forward to speaking to you.
Excellent, excellent. Yes, so the way we were introduced, the infamous Brian Schwartz. Thank you. He's been on the show before. He's a good guy, good friend. He has some crazy takes that I like debate, but that's who brought us together. And I guess we're gonna start off with, how do you know Brian? I know you graduated from Quinnipiac. I assume we know some of the few people.
Yep.
Whether you're Ralph's or Adam Kaner, Adam Lehner, or like Eric and all those gentlemen.
Yep.
So basically, tell me how you first got to know them and how did you wind up from Quinnipiac? And are you from Stanford?
No, I'm actually from Long Island, New York. I wound up at Quinnipiac. It was a great school for me. I loved every minute of it. I got my bachelor's as well as my MBA from Quinnipiac.
Oh, okay.
And me and Brian have known each other since about 2015, 2016. We were in the same fraternity. We became really good friends. And all those guys, we started a fraternity together called AEPI. And we became really lifelong friends. And it's really been an awesome journey. And I still speak to those guys. They graduated in 2019 and 2020. Both of them, and we still speak 3 years later. We've been friends for over 10 years from the Quinnipiac, and it's been an awesome experience.
Okay, interesting. So Long Island, New York, which town? Like, is this you're a North Shore guy or South Shore? I hear?
I'm from Dix Hills. I'm at the last exit, so it's basically exit 50 and past are Suffolk County, and exit 49 and below are Nassau County. So I'm literally right in the middle between Nassau and Suffolk, but I'm technically from Suffolk County, Dix Hills, Long Island.
Okay. So, I'm just huge radio nerd. It helps bring this. So I hear of Dix Hills, and there's a famous caller on the fan and Sirius named Harvey in Dix Hills. So that's how I remember that connection. But okay, so Long Island, New York. So we talked about, we'll definitely get into your Jets fandom, but you do a sports podcast, so we'll get into that. But you're just for your origin story, growing up in Long Island, what got you influenced and into sports and the other stuff you're interested in?
I mean, the sports really has been a lifelong thing for me. I started playing baseball when I was about 7 years old and continued playing high school and got involved in it in college. I was the student manager for the men's basketball team at Quinnipiac. So I have a lot of different experience in football, basketball, baseball, as well as right now I coach at a middle school called Eastwoods in Oyster Bay. So I do a different sport for every season, and I'm one of the coaches there. So it's really, sports has been a lifelong thing for me. It's developed great friendships. I work for the Mets as well, so I have a lot of different experience in the industry. We're really working with a lot of people, making connections and building off the connections I made with my MBA as well, and combining it with sports.
Impressive. So I reckon your teams are Jets, Mets. Are you an Islanders fan?
I'm one of the few who's a Jet Yankee. I root for the Yankees. I root for the Jets. Usually it's Mets, Jets, Islanders, and then it's Rangers, Giants, Yankees. But I root for the Mets and the Jets, the Knicks as well. Hockey I'm not as big into, but I follow our college hockey team since we're very good. So that's the team I follow.
I've noticed that. Yeah, and for basketball, you said Knicks or Nets?
Knicks on my team.
Knicks fan. Okay, great. So you're the again, the Jets, Yankees, Knicks, and hockey will go with the Quinnipiac. Is that the Wildcats?
The Bobcats.
Okay, I knew there was some cat connection there. Okay, and then the other, you into like golf or the UFC?
I'm into UFC a little bit, golf. I know a lot about tennis too. I can have a conversation about that. Really, I'm mostly into all sports. Really.
Excellent. Okay, love it.
I know a little bit about soccer too. I have a basic knowledge.
Yes, and we're all trying to expand our horizons. For me, it's the typical Giants, Yankees, Knicks, Rangers for me. I love I really want to get into UFC a little more. I know like I watch the big name fights. And I know the how
They had
the
a recent
match
one,
works.
Islam versus Alexander Volokovsky. That was a good one.
Yeah, I heard that a big not a title unification but a double title match.
Yeah, it was a unanimous decision 5 rounder. So I heard that was a good fight.
Okay, great, great. And I've even covered WWE in this, but that's more
Oh,
sports
WWE. I'm a big
entertainment.
fan. Yeah.
Oh, legit?
Yep, a little bit. Yep,
Really? Can you
yep.
get into that a little more too?
We'll talk a
Okay.
little bit more about WWE. Yeah.
And yeah, also big golf fan. And tennis, know the game, know the big names. Also really like horse racing. I think that's one thing a lot of people don't know.
Horse racing, I haven't really gotten into yet. I know Francesca on the radio is a huge horse racing guy.
Oh
Like
yes,
Francesca, she's a horse
for
racer.
sure. It's a very niche group. I've been a horse racing fan since my grandfather and father. They've been my grandpa was known to be in Belmont after World War II and even been on the horses there.
Okay.
And so, obviously that specific May and late early June is the typical season. And then they race up in Saratoga. And it's just a fascinating process to me. And I think the horses are smarter than people think as well. I heard, like they say, they're legitimately competitive.
Yeah, the
And
horses are. Yeah.
but yeah, that's the one thing we have our connection, special connection. The ultimate distraction is sports. But besides sports, what other things are you like? Movies or music or I don't know, poetry if that's your niche
I
or
mean, I love watching movies. I like to read books. I read a lot. I try to read every day, 50 minutes a day.
yeah.
I'm very, very big into coaching. That's something I really got into. I like giving back to my community. And yeah, I mean, education's really my biggest thing that I'm really, really into. I'm really into that. I actually love to learn. I like being in school. So it was one of the things I really enjoyed. One of my
Mm.
goals and to get my doctorate one day. So that's something it's a lifelong dream. But yeah, just about all different things. I try to keep myself current with like politics and current events in the stock market. So I do try to keep myself relatively um relatively informed on a lot of different topics. That way I can have a conversation.
Same here. So very studious, and I feel the same way. I do try to read just as much as you, like an hour a day. A lot of nonfiction and current events to improve myself as a host and just keep my brain active. They
Me
say,
too. Me too.
as you're eight, the one thing they've noted, it's a theory, but I mean, it's tough when they talk about people with dementia and Alzheimer's, and they're still trying to figure out. But one of the theories that if you keep your brain active, that helps prevent those causes. And I know I'm not an expert saying that. I'm not a doctor, but I'm just going off what I heard. So when I heard that, I just like to train my brain as much as I can and like, soak up as much
Well, yeah, it
information.
definitely keeps you young. It feels like it will definitely be good for your health. I feel like too.
Definitely. And you mentioned about giving back to your community. Can you expand more of that for me? So like, there's so many people our age that seem very selfish and seem very not everybody. There's a lot of people just doing their own thing.
Yeah.
And they don't have the time or the money or the resources. But why you, Hayden? Why do you decide to give back in this crazy world
I
we live
mean,
in?
personally, I just feel like with the things I've achieved, I feel like I have a certain responsibility to give back and help others. I think that's really, really important. Like there's a quote from Spider-Man. You probably know the quote. With great power comes great responsibility. I genuinely do believe that. Like I do feel like where I come from in a relatively affluent area of Dixon, I feel like there's other people who maybe don't have it as good, and I feel like just being able to help others and just being able to encourage others and be a positive person that people can look up to is something I feel like everyone in their life needs, whether you're a CEO of a company or if you're, it doesn't really matter what your job status or title is. I think everyone needs someone to believe in them and encourage them and just help them make the right decisions in life.
Well, that's very admirable, Hayden. And like I said, a lot of people in our generation, I'm a few years older, but that they don't really feel that need for whatever reason, or they feel like, oh, when I'm super duper rich, I could just write a check. But it's more than that. It's about, like you said, not forgetting where you came from and being genuine about it too, because you could really help one person, and that goes a long way, and that only leads to helping others.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. So I really respect that, Hayden. I really do. And so when you're not producing, kind of like what are you up to? And you're coaching, like, do you work in the school system?
Yeah, I work in Eastwood School. I kind of work in a very different variety of administrative positions right now. So I'm kind of like kind of the jack of all trades school at the school I help out.
Okay.
But mainly my main role at the school is to be a coach. I also help my athletic director as well with a lot of different responsibilities. So there, and then on the weekends I also coach another team for flag football. So I'm involved in a youth sports league
All right. So
as well.
big coach. So Coach Hayden right here.
Yeah, I'm trying.
So when you're coaching though, what's your strategy in here? Do you look at like all the great coaches throughout sports
Um,
history, try to learn from what they have,
my
or
coach that the coach that I look forward and look up to the most is Jim Valvano. I try to
okay,
embody
and
my coaching philosophy off of him, just enthusiasm. Just making sure that people have someone that they can rely on and talk to, not just about the game. I feel like people think coaching is just about the game, the strategy, and I don't really just believe in that. Like in terms of the kids I work with at the middle school, I just think like, hey, how was your day, or how's your family, or like certain problems you can really help out kids or people that you're coaching. It doesn't have to be just about the game. That's what I think people don't really understand about coaching. They think it's just about the strategy and working with the kids and developing a game plan. And like for me personally, I'm more cognizant about the other things and just being a good influence and role model. Not
yeah,
necessarily being the most well liked or the best coach, but just being someone that people can look up to.
I like that. Beyond the X's and O's, you're trying to make a legitimate impact.
Yeah.
And how is it coaching kids nowadays? This Gen Z generation so obsessed with their phones, or
I
various
mean, it's
things
tough.
going on.
It's tough. I work at a private school, so it's obviously the kids come from money, so
Mhm.
it's sometimes a little bit difficult to get them to do things. Some of them are a little entitled, not in a bad way, but it's just a little bit different about how they were raised as compared to us. So it's just kind of being cognizant of that, and it's fun. I love coaching there. I love every second of it. I love the people I work with. The people I work with always encourage me and want me to be the best version of myself. So like I can't really say enough about working at that school, as well as the youth league I work with. The people are very tremendously encouraging and supportive of myself.
No way. How about that? Do you see yourself maybe, with the various things in your life going on, do you think maybe you can become whether an official high school coach, maybe even work professionally, working your way up the ranks,
I would
or
like to work high school. That would be my next level. I
Mhm.
feel like I'd like to do that just to experience like the competitiveness of a baseball team.
Yeah.
I'm kind of working on it a little bit, but I'm definitely happy where I am at the middle school. They treat me very nicely, and I'm excited to go back and give a difference.
Look at that. Look at that. Especially, I mean, you already have an MBA, which is really impressive. And if you're
Yeah,
getting your doctorate, it only helps
that's
push that.
something more down the line. It's more of a dream, but it's always good to have something that you aspire to be or to towards
Well, you have
one day.
my support that with Hayden, my support there. That's awesome. So my man gives back to the community. He coaches. He goes beyond the X's and O's, trying to make a real connection with people. And with all of those great attributes, how could you choose the New York Jets as your special team, Hayden? Let's go
Don't
with
don't
there.
don't even get me started in the Jets. I'll talk about the Jets for a little bit right now.
Of
We
course, let's
have
start the origin story. But first, before we get to the current Jets, how did you become a fan of the team in general? You could have picked the Giants, and in the NFL, so many people, you have since the NFL is king, everybody has. It seems so many different people have teams where they're fans of teams where they're not necessarily from. But why did you pick the Jets?
my dad's had season tickets since 1969, and
Oh, okay,
it's a family thing, and I've been going to the games since I was like 5 years old. I remember a fateful day in 2008. I used to root for both the Jets and the Giants until 2008 when I was about 11 or 12.
okay,
And my dad said to me, he's like, you got to make a choice. You can't root for
fair
both.
enough.
So I said, screw this. I'm rooting for the Jets. And I had a couple of good years after that, 2009, 2010. I said, boy, I made the right decision. My God, they're great. And then the next 12 years have gone to crap, as you know, the next
Yeah.
13. So, we'll talk about that a little bit. But
Who was your favorite Jet growing up? When, especially when you
Oh, Darrell
decided
Revis.
this was the team.
Darrell Revis, without a question.
And he just got inducted first ballot Hall of Famer, Revis
Yeah,
Island.
he was my favorite.
How did you react when you saw him getting the nod and making it official?
I was happy, but I'm not surprised. He's one of the greatest corners ever. So
There were some Jet fans who didn't like him, whether it was his attitude or holding out in practice.
Well, he decided to go to the New England Patriots to get a ring. So he
Mhm.
ring chased with the Pats. So that's why Jet fans don't like him, because they feel like he betrayed us, which I could understand at some level. I could. But you look at him, he had the two greatest cornerback seasons in the history of the league in 2009, 2010. So you gotta look at it like that.
So you forgive him for this.
Yeah, I do. I do. He gave us some great years.
And I'm sure your father was happy to see Joe Klecko make the Hall of Fame. He
Yeah,
was
he
a
was very
loyal
happy.
Jet fan.
Klecko has always been good.
Yeah, the real special one took him a long time. All pro at 3 different positions, and for some reason they made him wait decades, but at least he got in.
Yeah, he deserved it. He's had a long wait, and definitely with the sack exchange with him and Mark Gastineau, it was a great
Yeah,
unit.
man. Yeah, you picked the Jets at that time too. 2008 Giants just won a Super Bowl, and they had a really good, arguably a better team the next year after they won in 07.
Oh yeah,
And
they won 13 games that year.
yep, and then they just collapsed at the end. Plaxico shoots himself, and well, we know what happened there. But even despite that, you still picked the Jets. Rex Ryan years, Mark Sanchez.
Yep.
And I gotta say, the Jets, it's not that I hate the Jets. I really don't. It's just some of their fans, get under my skin.
Oh my
And
gosh, yeah, I agree with you on that.
it's just a playing a heel persona with that. I do the same with Met fans too. When I grew up, my dad was a real Tom Brady fan. I picked the Giants simply because I just saw him first. Kerry Collins, Tiki Barber, Michael Strahan. That was the start for me, and then just kept going that way. That's where my Giants fandom really started. And my dad was more just a big Tom Brady fan, and go with the flow type of fan. And then my dad's a Met fan originally. I picked the Yankees. Mainly, I just saw the Yankees first, and I just defied authority in that sense. So with my biggest fans, and with the Knicks, I like a lot of people started out with the Shaq and Kobe, and then I was like, you know what, I'll keep the New York tradition going. Let's go with the Knicks, and I'm still waiting for a comfortable season. And then
God,
the
the
same
Knicks
with
are
the same with the Rangers.
Knicks are a joke. But,
Hey, they're making a fight now. They're really making a
well, yeah,
push.
this
But
first year in a while, but
for sure, we're excited with what Jalen Brunson is really might be the first piece to finally change it around. And I mean, you saw the war. One thing I say, like the Golden State Warriors until Steph got there were a joke franchise. They really were. Like, well,
well,
Baron
they had a couple of
Davis,
years with Baron Davis and the Miracle Warriors. They had that one year where they
right,
beat
and
the
Steven
Mavericks.
Jackson.
Yeah,
But
they had a couple.
they didn't take the country boy storm like they have now with
No,
this dynasty they're running.
yeah, no,
And it
yes,
all
I agree
started
with
with one player, and and then we'll go transition back to the Jets, but at least with Jalen Brunson might be the start of it. I mean, I know Julius Randle helped lead them to the playoffs, only to get embarrassed by the Hawks, and then didn't make it last year. But it seems like it's Jalen's team, and we're hopefully growing more with it. In addition to Josh Hart and maybe Thibs taking more patience, and we'll just see where we go from there.
We'll see. I mean, I would have liked it if they got a superstar like Zach LaVine or someone else to really be another key contributor. I would have liked that, but I mean, I like the roster the way it is. I just feel like they're one superstar away, and we say the same thing every year. I didn't feel like that. We have a lot of good contributing players, just not that one superstar.
And you only hope. Well, it looks like looking back, we should have made that Donovan Mitchell, RJ, and all those assets deal.
Of course. And now you see him on the Cavs, having a good year. It's frustrating.
Exactly, frustrating is the perfect word. And I don't know. Well, hopefully we can at least make the playoffs, not in the play-in. At least be competitive. Maybe even win a round.
I want to get the top 6 seed. I don't feel like I don't want that play-in tournament. Just make it easy. Make the top 6. That's what I want.
Right, make the top 6, and then hopefully we could just
and then
garner interest from a free
Yeah.
agent, and maybe finally start something special. Because they always say that's the special one. If the Knicks specifically can win the finals, that's the ultimate championship because
Oh yeah,
there's so
when
many
the
people together.
when the Knicks won a playoff game, the city almost collapsed, or they almost destroyed the city when they won one playoff game.
Right.
Atlanta. It was like the end of the world.
And Mike Francesa, you mentioned here, big influence. And by the way, when I'm typing, I just want to let you know I'm just writing my notes for the timestamps. I'm not.
Yeah, no, I got you.
So he said someone asked him what would be the what if the ultimate what if factor, and he actually said, I really would find it interesting if the Knicks won in '94, like if they won that finals, that would have
Well,
been
you would have
really
the Knicks
special.
Rangers. Yeah, would have been a big one.
Yeah, could you imagine that time? Just
I mean,
missed it.
2000 was a crazy year. The Giants were in the Super Bowl, and the Jets and the Giants were in the Super Bowl, and the Mets and the Yankees played the World Series. So that was a
And the
crazy
Knicks
time.
made the finals that year too.
Yeah, so that
as
was
an
a
eighth
that
seed.
was a four. Yeah, it was a great year for New York.
Yeah, so waiting for those days again. Haven't won a title since. Well, I mean, if you count MLS, we won an MLS title in '19, but
When was the last the New York major one? It was 2000. Oh,
11.
2011.
Yeah, so still waiting for those great days. But
12
back
years.
to the Jets, the New York Jets. And let's get with the current Jets. The New York Jets this year, you had, what is the word we're looking for? I don't know if it's interesting, compelling, definitely not compelling towards the end. You had a year that, I will just say, for lack of a better word, interesting. It really was. You literally draft the offensive rookie of the year on offense, the offensive rookie of the year on defense. Now that's
And you
a
still win,
flex.
and you still only win 7 games.
Yeah, and actually happened to be in Miami and watch the final game of the year in Miami, and it was a boring football game, and they were just not putting up a fight. And I understand, what they were working with anything, no quarterback, and we'll start with the whole Zach Wilson. All right, the whole Zach Wilson debacle. We got Robert Saleh still trying to figure out what he's at. The Jets. But yes, after you clearly have a great future, and the one thing everybody says, we need a quarterback and we can make a legitimate run. And Hayden, before I give my opinions on it, who do you think should be the next quarterback of the Jets? And you could be realistic with it, or you could have a fantasy, but who should be the next Jets quarterback and why? And if you could get it.
In all seriousness, the next quarterback, if they want to win right now, which we'll get into more about Joe Douglas in a bit, but right now, the quarterback of the future that they should get for right now, I'd rather have Rodgers maybe get a chip. That's the quarterback I would want. Mm-hmm. I think he's the most realistic, where he can elevate the team with the wide receivers. He would give you a legit chance to win 11 or 12 games and get into that playoff conversation with Buffalo. And Buffalo's going to have Josh Allen, who's still turnover prone. Miami has Tua, who's coming off all the concussions. Mm-hmm. And the Patriots have Mac Jones, who's kind of a mystery at this point. So you probably have the best quarterback in the AFC East. You probably have the best quarterback with Aaron Rodgers. That's who I think I would want, and who they should be going all out to get at this point right now. Who do I think they will get? I think they will probably get Ryan Tannehill, because I don't feel like Rodgers and Carr are going to come to New York. I feel like with the signings they had, they just signed Todd Downings, who's the OC when Tannehill was the quarterback. They also just signed Nathaniel Hackett. I see it right now. I see the future unfolding right before my eyes, that they're going to miss on Derek Carr, and then they're going to miss on Tannehill. They're going to miss on Derek Carr and Aaron Rodgers, and they're going to fall back with Tannehill. That's what I think in my gut. That's what's telling me is going to happen. But I really would want them to get Aaron Rodgers. That's who I would want. I think they should get. But that being said, I just have a strange feeling that they're going to wind up with Ryan Tannehill.
Like, this is what I say with the Jet fans, and you could attest. It's just amazing how much there's a dark cloud over a franchise, and everything that can go wrong does go wrong. I mean,
yep, that's what I'm thinking to myself.
That's why I try to tell the Jet fans, you're not going to get the top tier. You're not getting Aaron Rodgers. You're not getting Lamar Jackson. Nope, you're not getting Derek Carr. And I just think of just legitimate bad vibes, juju, and luck, which will prevent you from getting those top tiers. Even if you give everybody but Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner away, they still would say no or whatever. And then you have this tier of who you're probably going to settle with: the Ryan Tannenhills, the Baker Mayfields, the Jimmy Garoppolos. Seems like Derek Carr looks like he's going to go to Carolina.
Yeah, Derek Carr, I think, is going to go to Carolina, or I think he just New Orleans. Those are the two I feel like he could
Yeah,
go to.
for
And
sure.
Jimmy G, I think, probably may go to the Buccaneers. That's what I think.
Wouldn't that be funny? Wouldn't that be funny? But
Yeah.
yeah, Aaron Rodgers ultimately is the best case scenario, but it's ultimately up to him. Now, I like to troll with the Jet fans that you're not getting him, but
Oh my
obviously
God.
Aaron Rodgers is a major wild card because of his very unique mind. I mean, he started his quote unquote darkness retreat, or at
He's,
least,
he's,
or at least I
he's,
assume he is.
he's going to be taking his psychedelic medicine like he took for COVID.
Yeah,
He's
and
crazy.
I'm not trying to. If we were to try to delve into Aaron Rodgers' mind and think, what does this guy want to do? What does he want to be remembered for? It really seems he does not care what we think at all.
No. And another solution that I brought up on the just talking about with the Jets, like if you have a guy, like why can't you draft a quarterback in the third round? Like even with a veteran, why can't you get a guy like Hendon Hooker? Like they haven't been successful with any quarterbacks they've drafted. Why don't you just keep drafting one and see if one develops? Because like the Seattle Seahawks did, they originally came in with Matt Flynn as their quarterback in
Yeah.
2012, and then Russell Wilson developed into a All-Pro and Hall of Famer. Like why can't you draft another guy in the third round and see if he develops? Why can't you do it? They should have given James Morgan more time. They should have given quarterbacks that they've drafted in the third or fourth round more time. Bryce Petty, they didn't develop. They didn't develop James Morgan. But like if you keep failing, like you got to keep trying. Like eventually you're gonna hit on a guy. Like we're not
Yeah,
smart
what do
enough.
they
The
have to lose at this point?
Jet fans are not smart enough. We have drafted Zach Wilson with this GM, who I'm gonna get started on the GM a little bit.
All right,
Okay?
get into Joe Douglas's
I'm
performance right
I'm
now.
getting
Let's
into
do
this
it.
right now. I'm getting into it right now. This guy is 20-46 as GM. He's been awful. Okay, his most wins in a single season, has been 7-10. 20-46, and this is what Jet fans are saying is the next coming of Jesus. All right, what has he done? Tell me what he's done that's honestly been any bit productive. He hasn't done anything. His most wins were seven wins. That was his most wins, and that was the year it was Gase's staff, not even his own team. He drafted the offensive rookie of the year and the defensive rookie of the year, and the team still only won 7 games. Do you know how bad the rest of the roster has to be? You whiffed the quarterback. You whiffed it Zach Wilson. You screwed up Sam Darnold. You drafted James Morgan, who was a failure, another quarterback. Like, what does this guy have to do? Like, I'm sorry. Like, it's been 4 years since they made the playoffs. 4 years. No other sport town in America would put up with the amount of crap that this team has put up with. And then you're telling me in year 5, it's all of a sudden going to change? That's like okay, I'm going to give you an example of that. You know, Apple computers have their certain products, and some of them sell and some of them don't.
Yep.
After 4 years, wouldn't you think after 4 years that the product not working, that it's just not going to work in year 5? Because I've seen this so many times. I have seen this. They're going to go year 5, and it's all of a sudden going to change. It's not. If I'm a betting man, I'm a diehard Jet fan. I want them to win, of course. Nothing more pleases me in the world than them winning. But if I'm a betting man and I see it hasn't worked for 4 years, what makes you think it's honestly realistically going to work for the 5th year? Like, what makes you think that if they haven't had any of the success? If I'm seeing the over-under for wins at 8 with the Jets, I'm hammering the under. I'm hammering it. I think next year is the year where we're going to finally get a new coach, a new quarterback, and get rid of this crap regime, because I'm tired of it. I'm tired of going 5 years and not making the playoffs. It's just enough. Eventually, the wins have to happen. Like, I don't really care who you draft. If they don't win football games, get a new team or get a better GM or a better coach, because this crap has been enough. We're going to look back and say we have to go through the Joe Douglas years. He had a terrible 2020 draft. If you look at his 2020 draft, awful. Mekhi Becton has been hurt. Aston Davis has been hurt. Denzel Mims has been awful. I'm going to give you another one. Brandon Eccles isn't even on the team anymore. They drafted a punter who's one of the worst in the league, by the way. If you actually saw the end of those games last year, oh my God. The punting situation was a nightmare. And Elijah Moore, they don't even know how to use. So you have all these guys that you drafted that have been complete busts. And then you're going to say the 2 picks he made and Breece Hall subsequently negate all the negative? Like, there's been so much crap with this guy. Like, the guy's done a terrible job. 20-46 should not be being celebrated. And any other GM in the history of sport would be fired. I would have fired him after year 2, after they went 2-14. I can't take another year of this crap. I can't. I really cannot. And I want to see them do well. But at the same point, I want a new GM and I want a new coach, because I want a different regime. I want different opinions. And I'm not waiting another 4 years to make the playoffs. I'm not. I feel like I'm reasonable in that request.
We are gonna make sure your message is heard, Hayden. And I really wonder why more people aren't more of the Jets nation is more level-headed than you in this situation. I am very surprised how many people dick ride Joe Douglas for
Oh,
someone who
he's
hasn't made him.
the Douglas Dick Riding Club is I've never seen anything like it. He is the most overrated GM in the history of sports in New York sport. Okay, and I'm going to tell you what Joe Douglas is. Joe Douglas is like a pig with lipstick. That's what he is. He's done a shit job, and they keep telling me he has these 2 draft picks that negate all the negative. He's a pig with lipstick. That's what he is. He's been terrible. Please open their eyes, Jet fans. Please. Like, what do you want? Do you want 4 years of no playoffs? Like, that's not good. It's not good, regardless of who you draft. And he hasn't won so many trades. If he won so many trades, the team would actually be winning more than 7 games.
Is it because he's just so intimidating looking? Like that's not a guy who would pick a fight on the street. I feel like
Oh
somebody
no,
would be legit scared of
I'll
him.
tell you a funny story. He supposedly a fan like yelled at him for drafting Zach Wilson after one of
Oh
the games,
shit.
and then he goes, "I'll put you in a pretzel, you mother effer," or something. He said that to the fans
Really?
after the game. Yeah, I'm like, I'm not messing with him, but I mean, his job as GM he just hasn't been good enough. Like that's just the bottom line. The wins haven't came,
Yeah,
and that's what you should be judged on, not who you draft.
yeah, the Johnsons have really given him a leash. And like I said, it does help his case now when you draft the offensive and defensive rookie of the year now. There's at least
Yeah, it does.
some momentum in
Like I
there.
said, I agree with that. I agree. But
But
that being said, you win 7 games. That's not good enough.
you're right. And this should be the contract year for everybody, for Salah, for him. And clearly, if just Zach Wilson, if you just had a better, more competent quarterback, you at least are getting into that wild card game, it seems. At
And
least.
that has to fall on the GM that he selected this guy. Like, who are we putting that on? Like, it's everything is great but the quarterback. That's like saying everything is great at McDonald's but the burger. Like, that's the most important thing. Like, how could you say that? People say that to me. I'm like, are you stupid? Like, that's the most important thing.
Yes. One thing that really baffled me during that draft class is why Zach Wilson. Is it really his pro day? He made that one epic throw that
He
made
made that
him
one epic
fall.
throw with no one around him that everyone said, "Wow, this is the guy." And at times he shows flashes. Like if you actually look at some of the plays, like there's some like backyard scramble plays that he makes. Like he did make some incredibly good plays in that game
Right.
versus Detroit. Like he did. He just makes so many just poor throws that are off target. But like it's just crazy the paradox this guy has. Because there's some plays he makes that are just truthfully phenomenal. And then
And
there's others where you're like, wow, like, oh my God, it's awful.
yeah, I really felt that Justin Fields at the time was worth the draft pick. And it seems he's developing later on. At least the Bears have some confidence coming into him. And they're
Yeah, definitely.
excuse me. And Trey Lance has been a disaster so far. He can't stay on the field. But
You
yeah,
can't,
it should have
yeah.
been
Then
just
that
should have
has
been
to be,
Justin Fields ultimately. And there are texts of me saying that should be the case. And look where we're at now. You're hoping that Aaron Rodgers has this amazing trip or a prophecy where he wants to save the New York Jets franchise, which would get him a huge legacy to his belt, which would add on to his legacy to his belt if he is the one to at least get the Jets in a deep playoff run, or heck, get them to get into their first Super Bowl since Super Bowl 3. And that's why the one very small part of me would think, man, maybe Rodgers would be crazy enough to do that, but I think if he used his head straight, Vegas is the better option for him.
yeah, no, I agree with that. I feel like if you wanted to go back, maybe reunite with Devonta Adams. I do
Yeah.
feel like the Jets have playmakers from Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson, but I mean, outside Garrett Wilson, like who you throw in the ball? Elijah Moore is not reliable. Denzel Mims is
No.
not reliable. Corey Davis is always hurt. So it's like I don't feel like the Jets have enough depth.
Right, for
Yeah,
sure.
I don't. Like, outside of those 2 players, they don't have a very well rounded offense. They have a couple of star players, and that's great. But what happens if Garrett Wilson gets hurt? What happens if Brees Hall? Like, look what happened when Brees Hall got injured. They couldn't run the ball at all.
No.
The offense was completely down the tubes.
Right. And that was heartbreaking. He looked like he really had some potential. You only hope that he could come back from a terrible
Oh yeah,
ACL
Brees
injury
Hall
like
looked
that.
like a future All Pro last year at points. He looked great.
Typical Jets, huh, Hayden?
Every year. Every year. Something will happen. I'm just convinced.
I personally would like to see if it was up to me for the quarterback. He showed a little flashes towards the end. He did make a very bad mistake in the final game of the season against Seattle. But if Baker Mayfield was your quarterback, how would you feel about that?
It's interesting. I feel like he would inject energy in the team. He's a spark plug.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be the worst option necessarily. I think maybe it would be interesting. A lot of people do like Baker Mayfield. I feel like he has some moxie, some confidence, which Jets haven't had in a quarterback in a while. But I feel like they also need a mature guy who's going to take the blame for everything and really be a leader of men. And from what I've seen from Baker Mayfield, there's question marks on his leadership ability.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a quarterback who didn't take accountability for anything, and there's been question of leadership with Zach Wilson. So I feel like we would want a more mature person a little bit than Baker Mayfield. But that being said, his on the field production. I feel like if he were to keep us in games and win us some games, I don't feel like it would be the worst move. He'd be better than what we had last year, 100%. Well, anything's better, but
definitely. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you see Ryan Tannehill as the guy that the Jets will
I
get.
think Ryan Tannehill will be the guy. That's who I think they will get. But I want them to get Aaron Rodgers. That's who I think they should get. They should get Aaron Rodgers. But just something inside of me is telling me that they're not going to get Rodgers or Carr. I don't know why. Maybe that's me being like gloom as a Jet fan and just saying, oh, we're never going to get the guy. But like, I see Ryan Tannehill as the quarterback next year.
All right. Any interest in maybe in Andy Dalton? He's available, or he's
Andy Dalton's not the guy. Ryan Tannehill's actually had some success. He had a lot of success with Tennessee, and he won a lot of football games. So
yeah, he knows how to put his team in the right position.
It'd be interesting, but he also had Derrick Henry, and we don't exactly have a Derrick Henry in the backfield. I mean, Brees Hall is good, but he has to stay healthy.
Right.
So we'll see.
All right. But ultimately, for next year, and one thing I have to ask: how do you feel about Robert Sala's performance as head coach so far?
I mean, it's interesting. His defense has performed, but the offense has been so awful, and there's just certain things like he gives an all gas, no brakes shirt at the end of the season, or finish after you lose 6 straight games at the end of the year. Some of the optics I feel like have been smoke and mirrors. I mean, you could say all the crap you want with all the receipts and whatever, but you got to win football games. And like at the end of the day, like you're 4-13 and 7-10. Like Joe Judge got fired after last year's debacle. I feel like this year was the year if you were to get rid of him would have been a good choice. But I mean, we'll see. I'll give him a 3rd year, but he's got to make the playoffs next year. Him and Douglas got to make the playoffs, so they're both gone. So we'll see. I don't love him. I feel like there's certain aspects. Like I do like his leadership. Actually, I feel like he's a leader of men. He's someone I would want to go to battle with. Like I actually like him personally as a guy. Like there's some other, like Adam Gase was a disaster that way, but I definitely would go to leadership. I feel like with leadership, Salah does have good leadership skills, but at the end of the day, like you got to win football games, and like you could talk as much as you want, but if you don't back it up, who cares?
Some people have said that Joe Douglas is too nice to his players. Do you think that's true?
No, I don't, because I feel like he's made trades. He's a pretty shrewd operator in that regard, so I wouldn't say he's too nice to his players.
And also that athletic story about there was some real contention in the locker room that he had to really break up. And it's good that they kept it out of the press until the end of the season, but there is something to that, I'd feel. And you have to get rid of those toxic players. Allegedly, what was it, like Elijah Moore went at it with...
Elijah Moore is requesting a trade, and he's cursing out the OC.
Yeah, with
nonsense.
LaFleur.
And, I understand you don't want to trade the guy. I understand, but, like, why can't we trade him? Like, if he's that bad of a guy, like, just get rid of him. Like, I don't really understand why we need players like that. We could get a lot of picks for him, but, like, that being said, I mean, you got to develop your wide receivers in the draft, and they just haven't done a good job between Elijah Moore and Denzel Mims. Like, Garrett Wilson was a hit, but, like, the wide receiver they're developing and even the free agents have not been good enough. Like, Corey Davis has not been good enough. He hasn't been on the field enough. Like, you got to get another guy. Like, I would say if you're going to get Aaron Rodgers, you should go after Alan Lazard. That was one of his favorite targets in Green Bay. Bring him in. He'd be a good connection, maybe a good number 2 or 3 with Rodgers if you're going to go that route. But that being said, Corey Davis is also good because he has familiarity with Tannehill. So We'll see.
Definitely. And yeah, so ultimately, as we go into this crucial season, do you feel the future is bright for the Jets? Do you feel they'll get it right in the draft? And do you see the Jets being a playoff team next year and ending their
Um,
huge and very long drought?
no, I don't. Next year, I don't. I don't feel like they are a quarterback away. I feel like there's holes all over the roster. I feel like the defense is going to regress. It was an elite defense last year. You got to figure inevitably the defense is going to regress, and I don't necessarily feel like this veteran quarterback will take us to the playoffs this year. I think 2024 is the year I would say you target and say that's going to be a team that's going to win 12 games. I feel like 2024 is the year where we maybe have a veteran under our system for a year. You maybe bring in a new coaching staff, a new GM. I'm targeting 2024. Jet fans, I think, are being a little overly optimistic about next year. Um, I I think there's talent on the roster, but it's not deep enough. Like the rosters, they don't have a deep enough roster, in my opinion. So I want them to be a playoff team. I root for them to be a playoff team. But if I'm going by the odds and what's happened off this GM and takes the fifth year to get it right, I don't feel like next year they will be in the playoffs. I definitely feel like next year is going to be a year they'll be 6-11 or 6-11.
All
I see
right.
it next year. I see it. I don't want to be negative, but I don't feel like they are a quarterback away. And I said it at the end of the year. They're not. They're a whole offense away. And give us, like I said, give us 2024, new GM, new coach, everything all set up. That's the year you target, and to say that's the year you're going to win 12 games.
All right. I respect your candor there, and I'm sure you hope you're wrong.
I hope I'm
And
wrong. I pray to God I'm wrong. But if I'm a betting man, I'm betting the under.
hopefully we could check in right before the season starts to see where they're at, and we'll know the quarterback situation, we'll know the draft situation, and see where the Jets go from there.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So also just some other things you mentioned with the other sports, so baseball, the Yankees, that's your team.
Yankees, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, not as big into the Yankees as the Jets, but I'm a big Yankee fan.
all right, all right. I love the Yankees. Coming into this season, a season where the offseason was big because of a crucial move in bringing Aaron Judge back, but Brian Cashman only brings in Carlos Rondon, a returning Tommy Kahnle, and that's it. It really seems. And our left fielder is going to be Aaron Hicks, and we hopefully we get people back like DJ LeMahieu, and again, that's it. Not even Andrew Benintendi's coming back to see
Nope.
where things can go
And
for them.
Montas is going to be out for the season. He just tore his shoulder today.
Yep, what a surprise, huh?
Yep,
Another
guys.
terrible in-season move by Cashman. Gets a contract, and he's just riding the coattails. He has a job for life, and there are plenty of Yankee fans just asking why. Are you one of those Yankee fans? Why Cashman? Why is it taking so long? Why the not being aggressive? Why not be like quote unquote the Yankees used to be?
I mean, I am, but at the same point, you also got to look at the guy's success. Like they have been making it to the ALCS. They have been making it. They have been winning 100 games a year. I think last year they won 99 games. So like the success has been there. It just hasn't led to the World Series appearance because, like I said, they're just not quite at the Astros level yet. And that, like you said before, it was frustrating that they didn't get any of these big players. And people are celebrating the Aaron Judge trade, but like, is it really making us any better? Like are we so much better with Aaron Judge than we were?
I
Like,
think in the sense of at least making the team more interesting and actually going to see him and seeing this potential this guy has, yes, because it would be a huge hole and we would significantly miss him.
oh yeah, no,
And in
I
that sense, yes, but I get it that the team is essentially the same that it was a year ago.
yeah, it's the
And
same
that's
as it was.
better.
I don't really feel like they improved, and like Houston just landed Jose Abreu. They got a couple
Yeah,
of players. So
just
yeah, I
got
feel like
a former
I
MVP.
feel like Houston's improving and we're not. So it's definitely a little bit frustrating. But maybe some of the guys in the minors or the pipeline will be
Yeah,
will
like
be guys that surprise us.
Volpe better be
Yeah,
this all-star player they're holding out for. But when is enough enough? Like I get it. We're getting to the ALCS and stuff, but the Astros own us, and we're getting to a point where they've almost owned us for an entire decade. It's been
Yeah, no,
8 years, and it's
it is
embarrassing. It
very
really
frustrating.
is.
It is very frustrating as a Yankee fan.
Like,
And Cashman's had his time. What is he? What did he GM? It's like 1999.
yeah, 98.
He's
So
one of the longest tenured.
25 years.
He's one of the longest tenured GMs in the history of sports. Am I wrong on that? 25 years.
No, 25
So
years,
like,
and
yeah,
but yet haven't won a World Series since '09.
yeah.
That's a
I
problem.
feel like after this year, if you don't win a World Series, I feel like you got to just say, hey, you've had a great run, but we gotta try a different way or
Oh
something
yeah,
else.
like logically that's the case, but the Stein brothers clearly won't do that. And it seems it's all a money game at the end of the day. It's about the revenue you bring in. It's about getting the asses in the seats. And I mean, there is a World Series bonus you'd get if you get there, but it seems like they just don't care enough, and they're
They
trying
gotta
to give us that corporate
they
BS.
gotta get to the World Series too. They gotta get
Yeah,
past you, and that's like I said last year. The series was like they pummeled us. What they win? They swept
they
us last year.
swept.
They
Then
swept us last year, and they beat us. They beat us in 2017 with the upstart Yankees with Girardi, and then 2019
19.
they beat us, and then 2019 they beat us with Aroldis Chapman who hung a slider. Thank God
Mm-hmm.
he's off the team. Oh my God, but
Yeah,
he's
time to go for him.
time to go for him. But I mean, I think there's some question marks too. Like who exactly is going to be the closer this year? Are they going to have a bullpen by committee? Like
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some question marks. But I mean, like I said, I think the Yankees will be very good. I'm not saying the Yankees are going to be very good. Like they're going to be a very good team. It's just a matter of are they going to be elite enough to catch Houston. I don't feel like they're there yet, but who knows? Like I said, someone could develop from the minors. That guy Volpe could be a superstar, or they could get another midseason acquisition in the trade deadline. So I'm not going to lose hope for the season. I think they're going to be good.
I think we will get to the ALCS, and there's just a 7-game series from there. Yes, they lost their Cy Young ace in Verlander. He's going to the Mets, but the thing is, Houston clearly knows how to develop players too. Yordan Alvarez comes out of nowhere on a key trade from the Dodgers. Look at that. You get rid of George Springer and you bring in Kyle Tucker. Yankees just aren't doing that. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, no, that's very frustrating too. And I definitely feel like our top pitcher, Garrett Cole's a little bit overpaid. I mean, he's very good. Like I'm not gonna say Garrett Cole isn't very good. Like he's
He
excellent.
improved in the playoffs this season.
But yeah, but I feel like if you're gonna be paid that he got at the time, he got the highest salary in the history of baseball, the contract he got at the time. I feel like you should be you should be the best pitcher in the league. Like you
Yeah.
should have an ERA under 2.5 if you're going to be getting paid that much. That's just me personally. Not to say he isn't great, but I mean, for the money he's worth, is he really worth it? That's my question.
Holding on hope, Hayden. Holding on hope. You know, one thing you sent me, right? I was just curious. Jake, a quick change of directions. I always ask for promotional pictures. You sent me your Hinge profile, which was hilarious. I love
Yeah,
that.
I didn't
That
really
was
have
unique.
I didn't really have too many pictures, so I was like, oh, like I'll just send all the ones I have. I just saw they were all on Hinge. They're actually pretty good pictures, so I'm like, all right, I'll
Yeah.
use those.
How's Hinge going for you, if you don't mind asking?
It's very hit or miss. I don't do too well on that one. Bumble, I do a little bit better, but I'm working on it.
The Bumble guy. The Bumble's
Yeah,
the one to go.
working on it. Been on some dates recently with some girls, so we'll see.
Yeah. Love it. Love it.
So,
What's been the biggest lesson you've learned from a dating app?
it's a very good question. Don't necessarily trust the picture. You got to still get to know the person.
Great. One of the best advice things I've heard, when you meet somebody on an app, you really do meet them twice. Meet them online, then you meet them in person, and
Yeah,
it could go either way from there. And I think that's very fair. To say you have to really get to know someone, and there is a extra road to hurdle instead of meeting someone in person. But I think people just take it a little too seriously sometimes, and it's okay to just do your own thing, and if somebody likes you enough, they'll let them and take the effort with that. So don't take them too seriously. I think that's one key thing I've learned with dating apps. And by that, don't take it seriously. It's it's not the end of the world if something doesn't work out and stuff like that. Or
yeah. I mean, I'm getting to the point where we're obviously getting older. I'm 25, so I want to develop something long term. Move in eventually when I get a girlfriend, move in with her.
yeah,
That thing, get a family and all that stuff.
For sure. And do you mostly meet girls from Long Island, or you meet them like
I've
in New
met girls
York,
from Long
or
Island. I'm from Connecticut. It really depends. It
okay?
really depends where I am. I mean, I'm still working on it. Haven't had too much success recently, but I'm trying.
Well, I believe in you, Hayden. You got a good glow and good head on your shoulders. I'm sure you'll be able to easily make
Hopefully,
somebody great company with somebody.
hopefully, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Another thing I've noticed, Hayden,
Sure.
you met Stephen A. Stephen A.
Yep.
Smith at a
I
book
did meet
signing
Stephen A.
recently.
Smith at a book signing. Yep, and
Tell me about that
I'll
experience.
tell you a little bit about Stephen A. Smith. He has, I swear to God, he has more security than the Pentagon has. There was like 5 bodyguards there. I had to crop out the bodyguards because I couldn't believe it. 3 security. I couldn't even talk to him. I just got the picture and I was like, he is all business, man. There is
Really?
no silly. He's no talking to people. He's all business, all the time. I, like I said, I've never seen that much security around for one person in my entire life. It was kind of insane, but you know.
Really? Okay, okay. So I assume this is off his new book he just released last
Yeah,
month.
straight shooter. Yeah,
And did you read the book?
yeah. I read the book. Yep,
How'd you like it?
I loved the book. It was great.
Yeah, I
I thought
really
it
want to check it out
was
too.
an interesting
So
story.
you get it, you go to the Barnes and Noble. Was this what in Long Island too, or was
It
this
was in New York City. New York City.
the Fifth Avenue one?
Yep, the Fifth Avenue one. Yep.
Seems like the last bookstore left these days, huh? I think they closed the one at Union Square. I used
Yeah,
to
I mean,
go
I
hang
like to
out
read
there
a
a
lot,
lot.
so I go to Barnes and Noble. So
Hmm. So you wait in line, and like, so what happens? You just like, hey, Stephen A, I'm Hayden Nadler.
they wait in line. You write your name and then he signs your name to the book and then they just leave. I'm not even kidding you. There was zero. It was like going to a drive-through and getting your burger. It was just like it was crazy how little interaction there was. Like you couldn't
Really?
even talk to him. You couldn't. I was like, I was like, can I get a video for like my students? Like there would be a cool shout out. I couldn't get that. It was like absolutely not. I was like, I'm not asking anything crazy. I thought it would be cool if my
He
students
said,
got that.
absolutely not in the
Yeah,
Stephen
he
A
was
book.
just
Absolutely not.
the bodyguards were like, it was like I was committing a federal crime. So it was, it was
Yeah.
kind of crazy, but it was cool.
Did he at least smile and say hi? At least you got a
No,
nice picture out of it.
no, barely. It was just sign the book. Next,
Well,
next,
well,
next.
shoot. I guess it's true. Don't meet your heroes sometimes, but
No, it's all business. I'll give him respect. He
right.
promotes the book like, wow.
Yeah, seriously. I feel
I
like
mean,
he was on every
promotes the
major
book like
podcast
crazy,
and
and the
radio
book was
show.
great. The book was phenomenal, and I got to respect the guy's work ethic. It's just he's all business.
Hear
That's how
that.
he's Mr. Corporate America of ESPN.
Yeah. Maybe one day, Hayden, you'll be able to get to know him more on a personal level.
I mean, maybe it would be nice, but I have some friends who work at ESPN, so maybe they know him. But
Yeah, so when he worked I used to intern at SiriusXM Radio, and he's still he was still a big name. This was in the summer of 2015, but
yeah, he's a big name. That's when he started with Kellerman.
yeah, so he would do his Sirius show, and I ate lunch in this area, right? And he just eat lunch in this area too. And like
Okay.
there was like a solid 4 or 5 times we just would eat lunch at the same time, like a couple of tables away from each other. I was like, hey, that's Stephen A. What a cool guy. And hopefully I can know him one day too. And
He's a
I love his podcast. I love his regular podcast, Love First Take, and me and my
his
dad
stuff is
connect with
great.
him, so he's amazing. He really is.
Do you listen to the one he has, No Mercy? It's a new one.
Yeah, I
No
do.
Mercy.
From
Yeah,
Audacy.
he's got some good stuff going on. I mean, the guy is brilliant. Like the guy can speak. He's good. I mean, nothing but respect for his work ethic. And I've never seen anyone work like he does. He is I'm not kidding you. The man never sleeps. He's at like
He's a
a
machine.
basketball game. He's on First Take. He does the radio show. He does the podcast. I think he does UFC as well. I'm not, and I think all this.
Yeah, he definitely does boxing. I think
he does.
boxing.
I mean, ridiculous. I mean, the guy never sleeps. Like
and
the guy literally
I
never
loved
sleeps.
him recently. He was awesome on Bill Maher's Club Random podcast.
Oh yeah, that one was good. Yeah, when he goes unfiltered about the PC stuff. And
yeah,
he's good.
So what other besides Stephen A. Though, what other like podcasters or broadcasters interest you? You mentioned
Oh,
my friend Sessa, obviously a special one.
I
Who
love
else?
the new guy I like right now is Keith McPherson. I call into a show a lot. He's very
Really?
good. I like calling into him on WFAN.
And you
He's
just call
very personable.
Hayden from Dix
Aiden,
Hills?
they it was Aiden for a while because I didn't get my name right for the first 4 times, but they got it right
No
the fifth
way.
time.
You're a fan caller, huh? How about that?
So I mean, he's a nice guy. He's very nice, very personable. He makes you feel respected. He really lets you talk on the radio. So I feel like he does a very good job. He's someone I would like to aspire to be like in radio and kind of giving everyone the chance to speak and kind of you feel like you're on his level. He doesn't talk down to you or anything. He's a very nice guy on the radio. He's my probably my favorite guy in WFAN right now. I mean,
Wow.
I like calling into Tiki and Tierney. I called in a few times. They were nice guys. Carton was
Yeah.
nice, but they don't let you really talk in Carton. Keith McPherson lets you talk for a while.
Right. So you've called Carter and Robbie's, called Tiki and Tierney,
Yep.
called Keith.
Yep.
Um, have you called Boomer and Geo? That's my
Boomer
favorite
and
show right
Gio.
now.
I haven't called Boomer and Gio yet. Their ratings are good.
Yeah, that's my favorite show right now. My two favorite personalities. And yeah, Keith's awesome. I think he just comes from the podcasting world, did his own thing from there to podcasted for John Boy, and now the
Yeah.
fan. JR is another one, did his own
The
show on
the
YouTube.
one guy I don't really
CBS
like is
Radio.
Michael K. I don't like Michael K. I feel like he's very arrogant.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm
Not a
not a
fan of
fan of
K.
him either. I also love Mad Dog a lot.
Mad
Big
Dog's good,
Mad
yeah.
Dog.
Mad Dog's cool. Him and Stephen A. surprisingly have been very good together. I didn't
Yeah,
know how that would work, but it's a pretty good combo. I was like, wow, it really kind of works.
and I appreciate them bleeding into a mainstream to that all ages can see
Yeah,
what Mad Dog does,
it
and he's
kind of,
still himself.
yeah, he's done stuff and it works. Like they have a good chemistry on air.
And I really like Al and Jerry's post game podcast. I love Sal Licata. There's really no one
Salicata's
I
good.
dislike on the fan.
No, I
Really
like
not.
them all too. I like Salicata. Tommy Lugauer's not bad when I called him once or twice.
Hmm.
He's a nice guy. Yeah, they're all good.
One thing I have to do more. I've never been a caller to the fan. Only the one time I did, it was it was. I admit this. I was just after a late night at the bar. It's like, you know what? I had a little liquid courage in me today, and I really, I could talk on the fan. I think I could be a listener, contribute, and
Yeah,
so I'd
you
be
could
a
talk.
caller. And I just never done it for whatever reason. And most of the time I've called, I was impatient, didn't want to wait on the line. But I did for Chris McMonagle, and I literally was about to go on, and then the phone died. True story.
Oh, that's crazy.
Completely
Yeah.
died, and
No,
like, nope,
I'm
that's
lucky.
a no.
I'm like a regular on Keith McPherson, so that'll let me on a lot now. But
No way. That's
it's
really
been
cool.
I have to wait. I have to wait like an hour for just
Mhm.
whatever.
And then you hear that infamous that screeching noise. Oh, now you're on. Because I did
Yeah, yeah,
radio
yeah.
for Serious
And I
Progress.
startle.
They
I
did the same
startle for
thing.
a second. I started for a second. It gives me a little bit of shivers a little bit. But I get on the radio. I'm not. Like I said, I kind of like to talk. I don't
Same
really
here,
necessarily mind something like this. Like there's for me it's therapeutic. There's no stimulus, nothing running around or anything.
for sure.
Like my job, it can be difficult at times with kids running around. You control them, and it's like when you could just talk. You're just sitting in front of a mic and talking sports or talking whatever knowledge I have. So
All right. Now, transitioning to that, you do your own podcast, the Settle the Score podcast
yep.
on all podcasting platforms. Talk to me about you starting that show.
I mean, really, it was just a thing to get people involved, like get them involved in sports. Hopefully, I can say something that really reflects people's viewing opinions and viewers. Really just something I did for fun, not necessarily doing it, to. Although I'd like to make some money off it too eventually, but like just giving people the ability to talk because some people just need the confidence to be able to speak on a mic or speak on a show, and I feel like just being able to give people the ability to come on my
Right.
show, feel like they're being supported, like it's not a pressure environment. It's not like you're calling it someone famous. Like I just feel like I wanted to give the show to give back to people just a chance that if you want to talk sports with someone or just have an outlet that you could come on my show. I bring on all my friends, anyone who wants to really come on regardless of background knowledge. If you really just like with your show, if you have an opinion, kind of share it.
And that's
That's
where the
something.
productive part comes with my show and for yours as well. That just shows that anybody can speak on anything, especially whether you're an extrovert or an introvert. Everyone has the
Yeah, no,
ability to
definitely.
contribute if they want.
Definitely.
and it's okay if they don't either. So, like I said, mostly sports. And when do you post? Like you post
I do
sporadically?
it usually every Friday. I took a week off because I've been really busy with work and stuff, but I'm probably gonna do another episode this week.
Okay, so every Friday, check out the Settle the Score podcast on
Yep, it's
Spotify.
usually just I usually just do like a recording, so you just hear the audio. I'm kind of working on getting it on Instagram and all those other platforms, which I could use some help. But for right now, we got about 150 listeners. Over like
All
8 or 9.
right.
It's not like I said, it's not we're hitting it out of the park completely yet, but it's nice that I have some regular people that listen to what I have to say, and they talk, and it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I actually can contribute and have some skills that I can utilize.
And we all start somewhere. And as long as you just love the medium yourself, and as I'm trying to accomplish myself with this brand, there will be people who will listen. There will be people who give a damn. There will be people who will give you the support you need. But as long as you also if you're also just your own audience and you appreciate you putting that effort out, it's going to go a long way. And it's
Yeah, for
worth all the years of work to hit that special level and be legitimately influential.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah, and that's what I want to do. That's my passion. I just, whatever I do in my career, it's just income. But for this is what I want to do. This is a brand I want to dedicate my life to, and having it become legit. And who knows, maybe you could be a part of it too, or for both of our shows to help us grow.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm trying to build up my show, so any suggestions or help I can get, I would love to take your advice because I see you have a great setup right now where you're posting on Instagram, Facebook, and it's pretty cool. And I want to get to that level because I'm still getting a
Absolutely,
little bit
Hayden.
more accustomed to the social media aspects of it, kind of marketing it. I'm getting used to it a little bit, but I definitely could use some support and some help. And I feel like it's if you have someone who feel like would help you, I feel like it's always good. I look for mentors for my boss at the school. He helps me out a lot. So just being able to be receptive to learn is something I feel like is very important.
Anytime you need the help, Hayden, no matter what time of day, let me know. I would love to help. And as I'm still trying to learn my way around this industry as well, of course I'd love to help you and promote your brand and show what you got and get some collaborations along the way too.
Yeah, I would absolutely love that.
All right, man. We'll definitely be in touch there. And I have a feeling this won't be our only time recording on making
No,
content here. So
no, it was a great show. I really appreciate you having me on. I love speaking.
of
I was really
course.
happy to hear some of your opinions.
Definitely, and this is only the beginning, and let's really focus there. Let's get Brian Schwartz entertained to make him laugh. I it's I'll tell you off the air. He told me something funny. I'll just tell you off
I
it.
love
But
I love Brian. So anything about
so
Brian,
let's get him
he's a good
excited
dude.
too, and everybody. He really is.
He's a good
And
dude. Ralph too. I love Ralph too.
oh yes, big Yankee fan.
Ralph.
I never. It's funny too because I've known these guys for years now, but it's all been virtual, and I never met him in person. I really hope to one day, especially with you. And you see it for myself. I mean, I don't even know what Rao's voice sounds like, so it's funny how
Yeah.
that works, right? Um, this is just a couple more things, just to really wrap it up. And I do a tradition with all my first time guests. But one thing you
Okay.
mentioned, you like WWE.
Yep.
So tell me right now, who's your guy or girl like you really like in the superstars? You a Roman
Ooh.
Reigns guy? You like this bloodline
Ooh.
story,
That's
which
you know what? I used to. God, it's a tough one. My favorite guy was probably. I loved Edge. Oh my God, I was a huge Edge guy.
oh yeah,
Oh, that was my favorite
legitimate star.
favorite superstar of all time is definitely Edge. Favorite, without a question.
Yeah, mine's The Rock. I've always really been a keen to Roman Reigns, though. I got into fitness after watching a Roman Reigns workout video, and then I was
And
like, okay, let's learn about this guy, and like, yeah, he's what a great
oh,
story.
I'll tell you a crazy story. Actually, my dad actually just hired the great Khali's wife to
Oh,
work for him.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
don't
that's a
piss
crazy
her off,
story.
or she'll get her
Yeah,
husband.
yeah. I'm always like, Dad, can you give me a picture with him, the great Khali?
Maybe he'll be nicer than Stephen A.
Yeah, maybe. No, Steven's not a bad guy. It's just
Oh yeah,
it's
you're right. I'm kidding. I'm kidding there.
corporate. It's corporate, but
For sure. That's the name of the game. But how about that? You've been watching like you interested in like they have Elimination Chamber this weekend and
yeah, I'm
WrestleMania?
interested. And I know Cody Rhodes is probably going to be the champ now. That's what my dad keeps telling me. They want Cody Rhodes to finally be the champ.
Yeah, I think
That's
that
what.
would make the most. I think they're gonna. I know during this rise of Cody, they also had this bloodline story with Sami Zayn and the Usos and Roman Reigns that has just taken over
One
all
thing
of
I will
wrestling.
say is that I don't like that they got rid of the Dudley brothers, right? The Dudley brothers are out. Or
Yeah, I
Billy
don't think
Bob, right?
there's no longer around
They had
anymore.
some good tag teams with the New Day and the Usos. They had
Hmm.
some good.
Right, and I just think they're gonna put Sami Zayn in that match to be a triple threat at WrestleMania, and historically those have been good matches.
Yeah, that should be a good one. And also MJF lives right around me for AEW. He's the champ for
Yeah,
he lives like 10 minutes from me. My friends know him, and my brother-in-law knows him too.
really, not like he's becoming a legit star. Like I think
Yeah,
he'll really
he's
cross the mainstream.
he's
He's
he'll go to WWE pretty soon. He's a big deal for he's
yeah, very funny. I liked him when he was on Part of My Take, another big podcast I'm a
I
fan
just
of.
I just can't believe how well AEW has done. Like they really
It's
they're
incredible.
quite they're quite frankly I think almost as good as Raw and SmackDown. Like they're right on that level.
You can make the argument, and the fact that they became such a huge brand in 4 years
Like
with a major TV
yeah,
deal on a major network, it's awesome for on a business standpoint too.
yeah, it's awesome for
Tony
Tony
Khan
Khan.
is.
Yeah,
I
Tony
like
Khan.
him. I heard him on an interview recently on Mark Maron's. Very fascinating guy. I think he's more than just a nepo baby. I think he really works hard to get what he's at.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that.
So yeah, some cool stuff with wrestling, and one theme I've had. When will be the day wrestling's cool on a mainstream level again? And maybe
I still
maybe
believe
this could be
wrestling's
it.
cool. My
Oh
dad
yeah,
still
for
watch.
sure.
My dad still watch every week. So
I'm a big wrestling fan, and it's getting more respect that it deserves, and see what the future brings. So one last thing, Hayden, before we wrap things up, I do something known as the Proust questionnaire. I
okay,
ask 10 questions based from the show Inside the Actor Studio. 10 questions. I always ask the first time guests, and simply they're gonna be 10 questions to really show the person you are. And
okay,
you ready to do it?
sure, yeah, absolutely.
Let's do it. All right. First, Hayden, my first question on the Proust questionnaire. What is your favorite word?
No, no worries. That's my favorite phrase.
All right, we'll go with your favorite phrase. No worries there. So, what is your least favorite word?
Boy, that's a tough one. Probably can't.
Yeah, awesome. I would have to say this. I would have to say that's the same for me. So, my next question, not necessarily a sexual question, but what turns you on in this world?
Probably possibilities.
Possibilities. Wow, that's a very good, wholesome answer to that. I appreciate it.
I should have given something sillier, but it's whatever.
No, no, trust me. Like I said, there are people who literally answer that sexually. There's was only one time I had to just completely turn it out. It will make everybody look bad. I think that's a get a good answer to that. So the next question I have for you on the Proust questionnaire is what turns you off in this world?
I will. I don't want to. Can I? I'll say something. Can I say it? Whatever. I don't like women who don't drive.
You know, you do not like women who don't drive. That's
No,
what turns you.
that's a very big dating that drives me crazy. Oh my god.
So if they don't drive,
Oh,
no.
I go crazy on that. Like that's just the biggest turnoff for me. I don't know why, but I mean,
Interesting.
in a serious answer for like what I don't like people who aren't ambitious.
You don't like people who aren't ambitious. All
No,
right, that's what turns you off in this world.
as a
Lack
serious
of ambition.
as a serious answer, yes.
All right, number 5. What sound or noise do you love?
Boy, uh, I don't really know actually to that. Probably fireworks.
Fireworks. Okay. The sound of fireworks. That's a really good
Sound of
one. I don't
fireworks.
think anyone said that one yet. What sound or noise do you hate?
Oh, and someone's like trimming their fingernails.
The sound of trimming fingernails. All right.
Oh, I
Number
said it.
number 7. What is your favorite curse word?
Probably holy shit.
Holy shit. Okay. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
God, there's so many different ones. Um, One day probably. I mean, I'm never gonna. I would never. I tried to be a lawyer, but I wasn't very good at it. But probably a lawyer.
Oh, okay. What profession would you not like to do?
Um, Not want to do. I'm trying to think of that one. Hold on. Oh, these are tough questions.
Yeah, right. They really expand your mind.
These are hitting hard. Not want to do. Like an exterminator.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. And my final question before we say goodbye, Hayden, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say to you when you arrive at the pearly gates?
The Jets won the Super Bowl.
That's the first thing you want to hear in heaven. The Jets win the Super Bowl. That is a great answer. All right. Hayden Nadler, the host of the Settle the Score podcast on all podcasted platforms, including Spotify. Check out all his great work. Check him out as a caller on WFAN. Any final words, Hayden?
No, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to seeing the content being publicized.
My pleasure, Hayden. Let's stay in touch. Let's see what the future brings. And let's not give up on our dreams. I really appreciate the time, Hayden. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right. Hayden Nadler, everybody.